Now I will invite my colleague, Sarah itself, to talk on behalf of India Future Society and particularly the prospect from about longevity in India. So Sarah is actually a transhumanist as well, believe in future technology, promote them, and board member of India Future Society. She's also a researcher, a neuroscientist actually, by profession, by her education in Kolkata. So I will invite Sarah to talk about her topic of longevity research in India. Please, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Avinash. Uh, just let me enable the screen sharing. Right. Uh, is my slide on the screen? Can
Yes.
everybody see?
Yeah.
Okay, so my talk is basically divided into three parts. The first part deals with the available data on aging population of India. Second part is about different government strategies to deal with aging. And finally, I would like to discuss the different government projects and autonomous projects that is ongoing in regards to longevity and aging in India. So basically, my talk is all about the present status of longevity research in India in terms of policy making as well as research. So before I start, I just want to walk you through a very brief peek into India's past, ancient past. Ours is a culture which is about 5,000 years old. The attitude towards conquering aging has always been positive in Indian tradition. According to an ancient Indian text, the Sushruta Samhita, human life can normally be prolonged to 100 years. Yet, with the use of certain Rasayana remedies such as Brahmi Rasayana and Vidanga Kalpa, life can be prolonged to 500 to 800 years. The Ayurveda, or the ancient science of life, also talks about means to achieve longevity with the use of specific phytochemicals from plant species which were available at that time. So this is not a very alien concept to us. It has been there in our society for a very long time. In the present day, India is going through a demographic transition with a fall in the fertility rate and increase in life expectancy. A positive side of this is rise in working class, thereby decrease in dependency ratio. Soon we will face another challenge with a rapid increase in the number of aged and the associated health and social issues, as large bulk of population will move from working ages to old ages. Thereby increasing the old age dependency. Under this context, we should revisit the old age programs in India to foretest our level of preparedness in embracing this challenge. So according to the latest WHO data published in 2018, life expectancy in India, life expectancy here, it is astounding. It's like male 67.4, female 70.3, and total life expectancy is 68.8, which gives India a world life expectancy ranking of 125, which is not very good. Across the world, the population of the aged is increasing at a rate much higher than 1.9%, the total population growth, which is 1.2%, and is expected to increase further. India's population stand at 1.21 billion as per the 2011 census. In 2008, the geriatric population of India was 90 million, which was the second largest in the world, next to China. The population share by the aged increased from 5.3% in 1973 to the current level of 8%, thanks to the progress in the field of female literacy and public health that acted as leverage in the decline of fertility rate and increase in life expectancy. The proportion remains more or less similar in rural and urban areas with 8.1% and 7.9% respectively. Another noticeable leaning is the growing feminization of aging in India, as there are 0.7% more women than men in the elderly age group, primarily because of the differential mortality pattern of men and women. Nearly two-thirds of elderly women are widows, whereas only 22% of the elderly men are widowers. Global life expectancy at birth in 2016 was 72 years, 74.2 years for females and 69.8 years for males, ranging from 61.2 years in the WHO African region to 77.5 years in the WHO European region, giving a ratio of 1.3 between two regions. Women live longer than men all around the world. So that's about the differences. Geriatrics is a relatively new branch in India, with most practicing physicians having limited knowledge of the clinical and functional implications of aging. India is old, their caregivers and healthcare providers recognize ill health as a part of old age. In fact, healthcare providers often view elderly patients in a negative and mechanistic fashion. Condemnatory attitudes, limited awareness, and knowledge with non-acceptance of geriatrics as a legitimate discipline has manifested in inaccessible or poor quality of care for the old people. And that's very sad. The main issue in geriatric care is not merely concerned with the physiological phenomena, which is inevitable, but also with the medical health problems and diseases, specifically affecting an individual in old age, warranting medical management in order to sustain comfortable and healthy aging. Geriatric care has two distinct facets in India. First, promotion of health and longevity, and the second, management of diseases which are specifically incident in old age for sustaining a comfortable and healthy aging. The conventional modern medicine is apparently strong in terms of the second dimension here, although the final outcome may not be significant because most of the disease of old age here is considered to be incurable. The geriatric disease profile in regards to India consists of cardiovascular mortality, while infections including TB account for another 10%, according to Government of India statistics. As per 2011 census, most common disabilities among the aged were locomotor and visual. Almost half of the elderly disabled population were reported to be suffering from these two types of disabilities. One report which was published in the ICMR, which is Indian Council for Medical Research, they showed that earlier on morbidity profiles among the elderly in our country found out that hearing impairment was the most common morbidity, followed by visual impairment. So quite an alarming fact is that it has been predicted that 20% or 300 million of Indian population will be over the age of 60 in the year 2050. The most recent national policy effort is the National Program for Healthcare of Elderly, abbreviated as NPHCE, launched by the Government of India in 2011 with vision to provide accessible, affordable, and high-quality long-term dedicated services to the elderly by creating more enabling environment for a society for all ages to promote active and healthy aging. Other than having a national vision, the program should also have decentralized vision that can make its policy demand-driven to furnish services according to regional needs, which, as the morbidity profile suggests, are very diverse. Implementation of the key strategies of the integrated program of older persons, increasing credibility of the National Council of Senior Citizens or NCSRC, and spreading awareness about national policy on older person requires sincere state efforts to sustain the strength of country's human resource, which is aging steadily. So India has excelled in outdoing morbidity by researching infectious and communicable tropical diseases in the leading laboratories of national importance. India has failed to pay any attention to the geriatric diseases and morbidity associated with it. One of the most reproducible intervention that has been shown to enhance lifespan in laboratory models is dietary restriction. Some of the DR mimetics promising translational potential to improve the quality of life include mTOR inhibitors such as rapamycin, metformin, acarabose, NAD precursors, and sirtuin activators. So India has a long way to go towards developing pharmacological interventions to counteract age-related disabilities. There is a lot to be explored in the area of Indian natural and alternative medicine. However, in order to design and discover new healthy aging interventions, Indian researchers and clinicians need to come together to uncover the molecular and cellular mechanism underlying the beneficial effects of these pharmacological interventions and to test their efficacy in improving the quality of life. Keeping all these in mind, in 2018, India got its first National Center for Aging, which you can see in the slide, at the most premier healthcare facility, which is called as All India Institute of Medical Science, or we call it here as AIIMS, in the heart of the Indian capital city of New Delhi. Harvard University T.H. Chan School of Public Health also collaborated, and they collaborated with their R21 exploratory grant from their National Institute on Aging, which is under the NIH. And they did a study which is called as Longitudinal Aging Study in India, or in short, LASI. In the pilot part of the survey, they did a lot of exploratory studies, and one of them was computer-assisted personal interview, and they also collected a lot of molecular biomarkers. So their study is still in progress, it's still ongoing. Some of the private projects which are ongoing in India in regards to aging is the Avesta Genome Project. It has been done under autonomous fundings. It explores the genome of the Parsi community of India, who are known for longevity and less propensity towards cancer and other age-related disorders. Studying their genome might lead to breakthroughs related to genetic basis of longevity, because the Parsi Zoroastrian ethnic group is ideal for precision-based medicine, as they are small, homogeneous, and localized in a very small area in India. Their community is also endogenous, and their community is more than 1,000 of years old. So in conclusion, I would like to emphasize a need for collaborative research efforts in India towards elucidating mechanisms underlying aging that eventually leads to an increased risk of devastating diseases such as chronic respiratory disease, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, dementia, and stroke. Some of the initiatives that can be adopted to promote healthy aging for older population in India are encouraging and supporting research on basic mechanisms involved in aging processes to gain an understanding of how age-related human disorders are caused. Also setting up multidisciplinary institutes dedicated towards conducting research on genetics, biological, molecular, clinical, demographics, and behavioral aspect of aging and diseases associated with age. And the third, which is very important, is building databases that will help store clinical information on elderly population of India. Last but not the least, increasing research funding dedicated to understanding the aging process and identifying dietary interventions for prolonging healthy lifespan, promoting startups focused on translating research findings towards development of interventional strategies that can prolong lifespan, and most importantly, educating and increasing public awareness to the importance of dietary and or environmental interventions that can be adopted for prolonging healthy lifespan. Launching of these research initiatives will allow India not only to participate more effectively in the field of aging research, but also deal with the challenges of the rapidly increasing older population. So with these thoughts, I conclude my talk. Thank you everyone for your kind patience. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you, Sarah. That's pretty nice, and a couple of things I also not aware, even though I'm from India. Actually, there's one question from Siddharth.
Right.
He's asking why Parsi community is the one who doing this longevity. So would you like to say anything about that?
Yes, sure. So the Parsi community, they have been living in Gujarat for a very long time actually. Parsi community, they are very endogenous community. They do not marry outside their community. They always marry inside their community. So their entire genetic genome or genetic repository is fixed. And it has not changed much since maybe thousands of years. And Parsi community is one of the oldest communities of the world. And for all of these reasons, exploring their genome might lead us pinpoint where are the factors for aging are located. So precision-based medicine that we can do with the help of exploring Parsi genome. And their community is very small and they are located in a particular area. So also for other reasons like, setting up research institutes and, calling in, building a database of their genome, calling in participants. So all of these things become very easy. So that's why Parsi community, they are funding and they are doing this particular project. Their project is, however, autonomous. It happens under the funding from their own community. So that's more or less the reason why Parsi community was chosen for doing one of these projects.
Okay, thank you. And so about the Parsi, one more. So Parsi who are the Parsi people we're talking about? I mean, these are the one
Parsi
who
people, yeah,
migrated
who came
from,
from, yes, from Persia, from Iran.
okay, from Iran. Yeah, okay, that's what I understood. Second thing is, you mentioned that government recently launched a longevity institute in India, right?
Yes, yes.
So are they doing a research? I mean, what's the objective for the institute?
Yes, they are doing a lot of research, not only in identifying the biomarkers. They're also working hand in hand with the T.H. Chan School of of Public Health under Harvard University. They're doing a lot of project hand in hand with them also, and they are doing all of different kinds of researches that can be done in regards to aging, including the behavioral portions, including the biochemical, finding out biomarkers and all those things. So like all of these exclusive, like now India has its own exclusive center which deals with the research in regards to aging, which it previously didn't have. And from 2018 onwards, it's been functional. It's in AIIMS in New Delhi. So that's the status more or less right now.
Yeah, thank you. There's Ilya, do you want to ask something? Please go ahead.
I wanted to ask, what is the current state of longevity advocacy? We remember the longevity advocacy efforts by Professor Kalluri Subbarao, who is a scientific advisor of IFS, and he actually advocated maybe 20 years ago for the establishment of a national center on aging. I'm glad it actually came to be. What is the current state? Who is talking with the government? Who is making a public initiative in support of aging? Is something?
Right. Actually, the things which he proposed, the molecular basis and the therapeutic interventions in regards to aging, he has been proposing it and talking about it for many long years. But because of the huge population in India, such kind of interventions couldn't be taken right away or immediately. So what I read in the last Niti Aayog, which is the government policy making of India. So in Niti Aayog, government had fixed very particular plans for the aging population, but none of them had any sort of like therapeutic interventional approach. It was mostly about giving older people pension, giving making more old age homes, and making healthcare more accessible. So all of these interventions were there, but understanding aging on a biochemical level, on a molecular level, or on a genetic level, I don't see much initiative from the government. But since 2018, we have this dedicated center for aging, the National Aging Center. So hopefully, in the coming years, we would try to understand aging keeping in perspective the Indian scenario. Of the Indian demographics, because our demographics is very culturally as well as genetically very diverse. So understanding aging in our population is it's going to take a very different approach. So all of these works, it needs to be done, and it has just been started. 2018 is just like 2 years back. So I have hopes, but let's see what happens.
There's one more question from Siddharth. That's quite a general question, but it's asking, there's some organization like Longevity, Palo Alto Longevity Prize, and Google Calico.
Right.
Do you expect this kind of organization will be here in India? Of course, this is related to the policy and of that interest.
Google, yes, yeah. Google actually announced that they are going to collaborate with India on multiple levels. But Calico project, Google Calico project, they are themselves not that much, they have this hush-hush attitude towards their own project. So let's see if they partner and team up with India and establish their research centers to understand aging in context to Indian population, that would be really great.
Yeah, that's great. But the question is that, do we expect something like that, similar organization in India as well, some venture like that? Do we expect that?
As futurists, yes, yeah. As transhumanists, definitely we do expect that. Definitely we do. But let's see what happens.
That's great. That's great. And thank you again, Sarah. That's quite
Right.
interesting and quite informative.
Right.
There's one more question, last question before we move
Right.
forward. It's from Prateek.
Right.
Does population growth contribute to the better life and longevity? Is there any relation between population growth and the better life and longevity?
Actually, population boom or uncontrollable growth of population doesn't help much for a country. But in Indian context, we are seeing that by 2050, 60% of Indian population, they are going to be elderly. So that is, then again, that is a very problematic situation because the youth of India, that is going to decrease. So the working population is decreasing. So it's a bit catch-22 situation over here. Like we do not want our population to uncontrollably increase, and then again we want like our elderly aging population to be at a better place. So I think it's a bit of a paradoxical situation over here. So
Yeah.
let's see what happens in future.
Okay. Thank you again, Sarah. Thank you
Thank you
for
so
your
much.
We will move to our next speaker after Sarah, as a Dr. Ilya Stambler. He will be our third speaker for today's conference.